How to fill out a translator's affidavit when you're getting divorced in British Columbia. In British Columbia and in the rest of Canada, you need a court order to get divorced. And to get a court order, you have to start a lawsuit. To start a lawsuit, you'll go to the registry of the Supreme Court of British Columbia that's closest to you, you'll pay a fee, and you'll file your notice of family claim. Along with your notice of family claim, however, you also have to file the original copy of your government-issued marriage certificate or registration of marriage. But here's the really important thing. If your marriage certificate is in a language other than English, you also have to file a translation, even if the marriage certificate is in French. Translations are filed using a translator's affidavit, and a translator's affidavit is a word-for-word translation of the original marriage certificate into English, and the translation usually follows the format of the original certificate so that the court staff can tell what's been translated. In British Columbia, the translator must also be somebody who's certified by an organization such as the Society of Translators and Interpreters of BC, and that's so that the court has some guarantee about the quality of the translation. The translator's affidavit has to be notarized by somebody in British Columbia who's able to do that, and that includes public notaries and lawyers. Here's an example of a certificate of marriage from Quebec, and you can see exactly the kind of information that needs to get translated and put into the translator's affidavit. Here's the same document from Mexico. Now, a translator's affidavit is an affidavit just like any other, and just like any other affidavit, the purpose is to give the evidence of the translator instead of making them come to court to give oral evidence in person as a witness. Lawyers, notaries public, and certain government and court officials can notarize affidavits, and they do this by taking the person's oath that they are telling the truth in their affidavit, by watching them sign the affidavit, and then by signing the affidavit and any exhibits themselves. Here is an example of the kind of information you want to see in a translator's affidavit. The text that comes in the form is all in black. The green text is the stuff that you'll need to add. Thankfully, all this information here you can find in the notice of family claim filed by the person who's looking to get divorced. You have to fill information beginning up here at the top. And what you have to write down is the number this affidavit is among all of the affidavits you've filed in this action so far, which is hopefully 0. Give your full name and state the date on which you made the affidavit. Then continuing on, you have to provide a certain amount of identifying information to the court. You have to state your full name again, your occupation, and the address where you live. Below that, in paragraph 1, you're going to want to describe the qualifications the translator has. So you'll want to talk about any special education or training you've had as a translator, the number of years you've worked as a translator, any particular professional designations you have, and any memberships you have in any professional associations, again, like the Society of Translators and Interpreters of BC. Then, in that second paragraph at the bottom of the page, you're going to say that you have translated the original marriage certificate that was in whatever language it was into English. And then you're going to attach as your first exhibit, Exhibit A, a copy of the marriage certificate that you translated. Then, in paragraph 3 at the top of the next page, you're going to attach your second exhibit, and your second exhibit is your translation of the original marriage certificate. Beneath this, it's the notary's turn to fill out some information. They'll provide the name of the city or town in which you executed the affidavit, and as well they'll write down the date on which the affidavit was executed. Over here, you have to write your full name again. Here is an example of what one of these affidavits might look like filled out. And so at the beginning, we can see that the affidavit is being prepared by Tommy Two-Tongue. And this is Tommy's first affidavit in the case between Marge and Homer Simpson, and it was made on the 1st of April, 2020. All this information came from the Notice of Family Claim. It includes the court number, the registry in which the action was filed, the lawsuit, and it includes the full name of the claimant and the full name of the respondent. Down below, Tommy's provided his identifying information. His occupation is that of a translator and interpreter, and he lives at 123 Main Street in Vancouver. Down below, Tommy has described his qualifications to work as a translator, And at the paragraph 2, he is saying that he has translated the marriage certificate between Marge and Homer Simpson that was written in Urdu and attached a true copy of that as Exhibit A. And I'll show you Exhibit A in a moment. Then on page 2, all the pre-prepared script is all up there at the top. Tommy signs over here, and then on the other side of the page, Nancy Notary, who is taking Tommy's signature and his oath, fills out all the information about the town or city in which the affidavit was sworn, and then signs the affidavit herself, and then you see Nancy's notarial stamp, and that's a stamp that most notaries and lawyers have, and they just keep it around the office for the purposes of dealing with affidavits like this. Now, here is Exhibit A, and you can see at the top of the page is the original marriage certificate between Marge and Homer Simpson. Down here is something called an exhibit stamp, and again, this is another stamp that notaries and lawyers tend to have, and the notary will fill it out. The notary will write down the number of the exhibit it is, whose affidavit it is, where the affidavit was sworn, and the date on which the affidavit was sworn, and then they'll usually apply their office stamp. Here is Exhibit B, and this is the translation, and you can see that it looks an awful lot like the original, uses the same format. It has the same notarial stamp and the same exhibit stamp, and you can see that this is Exhibit B. But one thing that you'll notice about this is how similar the translation is to the original document. Up at the top, you can see that it's page 75, and you can see that it's register number 2726, and that's how it appears in the translation. And so this is the kind of format that you want because it's going to help the registry staff understand exactly what's been translated so that they and the judge have faith in the accuracy of the translation. In a perfect world, of course, government would supply you with its own translation of your marriage certificate, but since that hardly ever happens, this has been how you fill out a translator's affidavit for use in British Columbia.